So we've had quite a mad week in the Championship. We've had goals galore in all the matches going on. We had a team winning 7-0. We got a game going on tonight as well, and we've got a lot of action to go over. As always, I'm interested to get your guys' thoughts on your team's performance in the comments down below. And before we do get into anything, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, I'll leave a link in the top line of the description down below. Like I said, we do have North End going up against West Brom tonight, so over on the OneFootball app, you can track how that game is going. I'm feeling... I don't know how to feel about going into it, to be honest. North End haven't been on a great run since the international break, but obviously we do have a very strong home record at the moment. So you can go over on the OneFootball app, and you can also check out all the action that went on this weekend in a little bit more detail. So like I said, link in the description down below. So just before we do hop into any of the individual games, I will include your guys' score predictions on screen now. So if any of you did successfully manage to get any of your predictions correct, then fair play. I just got the one correct this weekend, that being the Swansea against Fulham game. So not the best, not the worst from me, but without any further ado, let's get into talking about these games. So starting out with Friday night's game, which saw Fulham continue their impressive run of form with 4 wins on the bounce, beating Swansea by 2-1. Now, for this game, it was the home side who started out as the better side, to be honest. It was Swansea who were going forward, causing Fulham a lot of problems, but Rodak, what an unbelievable performance he had in net for Fulham for this one. Keeping the minute at times in the first half, as Swansea really were piling on the pressure. Swansea hit the post as well, and they were bombarding Fulham from all sorts of areas, but the real difference in this one was how clinical Fulham were when they went forward. Their first real opening of the game, Camera hit the crossbar, and then Mitrovic was able to follow up, and Fulham are suddenly in front. From that point onwards, Swansea continued to have a few more openings trying to get things moving, but Rodak was still on top form for them. They made it 2-0 before half-time. Mitrovic with his second of the game, a fantastic finish. The ball came from Peterson giving the ball away. Cavallero flashed it across goal, and then just a brilliant, ruthless finish into the roof of the net to make it 2-0. Swansea finally managed to beat Rodak in the second half. Byers with the header. Rodak did get down to it, but just couldn't get enough power to keep it out. But Fulham held on, and a massive 3 points for Fulham, and it just goes to show how quickly things can change in the Championship. You know, a few weeks ago we were discussing whether we thought Fulham were capable of making it into the top 6, and now we're probably speaking about if Fulham can make it into the top 2. They've been on a fantastic run lately. Mitrovic was quality, Rodak was brilliant in net. Swansea, I thought, were quite unlucky really. Looking at the match stats, they could have well got some out of this game and probably should have. And then we had Sheff Wednesday beating Charlton by 3-1. Lately, Sheff Wednesday have been on the receiving end of a couple of late goals, but this time it was them scoring them to secure all 3 points at the Valley. This game was always going to be a bit of an uphill battle for Charlton, looking at their starting 11 and the fact that they can only name 5 substitutes in this ridiculous injury crisis that they are currently in the middle of. But it was Sheff Wednesday who took the lead. Brilliant goal this one. Barry Bannon with the ball in from the left-hand side onto the head of Stephen Fletcher. Charlton did respond though, Bon with the equaliser after Wednesday had missed a gilt-edged chance to go 2-0 up. Stephen Fletcher had a header which was well saved by Phillips, and then Forestieri followed it in and just blazed his chance over the crossbar from yards out. I don't know how that went over, but the sides went in level at the break at 1-1. But Wednesday came out strong for the second half. Kadeem Harris was someone who was causing all sorts of problems for that second half. Eventually, they were awarded the penalty, rightly so, Oztuma with a bit of a clumsy challenge. Fletcher put that away, and in the 94th minute, after a nice ball in from reach, Newhugh made it 3-1. So a well-deserved 3 points for Sheff Wednesday in that one. Charlton were left to be frustrated, but hopefully they'll have a few more players back for their next game. Speaking of Charlton though, a bit more positive news has been this whole potential takeover. I think the family involved in the takeover have a net worth of around about £150 billion, which is absolutely ridiculous, but if that does get the green light, Charlton definitely will be looking more optimistic going forward. And it's finally happened. Barnsley have won another football match. They beat Hull City by 3-1 in a game which goes to sum up how bizarre the Championship is. Hull in midweek absolutely tore apart Preston, beating them by 4-0. They then go away to Barnsley, who haven't won since the opening day, and Barnsley beat them 3-1. No one could have predicted this, but what a result for Barnsley, and what a start to this game. Mowat scoring from outside the box with a brilliant finish. Just finesses it into the top corner. Probably been one of Barnsley's standout players so far this season. He set up the second goal for Barnsley in the second half, and then Hull looked like they may get a bit of a comeback on, but Barnsley cut them out on the counter-attack with Connor Chaplin smashing it in to make it 3-1. Barnsley still have a whole lot to do. They are still sat bottom of the table, but 5 points from safety. It's looking a lot better after this week than it was last, especially with the Luton result. In terms of Hull, it was a completely different performance from what we saw in midweek, really. They had to change up the system a little bit with Josh McGuinness being out injured. Jared Bowen played up front, and they just weren't quite as fluid. He played really well as a number 10 in midweek, but as that number 9, they just couldn't really click going forward as much, and Barnsley managed to handle them well. To add to that, I think that Kevin Stewart's going to be out until February. That's going to be a massive loss for Hull. But we've always known that Barnsley are capable of this, you know. We've seen quite a few decent attacking performances throughout the season from Barnsley. It's just been their inability to defend us so far which has let them down, but more performances like that at Oakwell, and who knows. And then we have Birmingham drawing 1-1 with with Millwall. Now, the first off, Truman came up with some massive saves for Birmingham to keep them in this game. Jed Wallace and Matt Smith have a brilliant partnership between themselves. Jed Wallace probably being one of the best players on the pitch today. He put in a brilliant ball into Matt Smith, and in those situations, he's almost guaranteed to score with a towering header, heading it down really well. But Truman, brilliant reflexes, getting down to the ball and just getting enough power on it to keep it from going over the line. He then was levelled to a Ben Thompson volley as well. I think he's done really well since coming into the first team since the international break. But going into the first half, Millwall did eventually get that goal, and Truman couldn't really do anything about this one. Williams with a brilliant strike from outside the box. And from that point onwards, Millwall made themselves really resolute and tough to break down. Birmingham were trying to pass through the lines, but Millwall were making it tough for them. Eventually, though, they did come up with the equaliser. Clark Salter with the goal in this one, and at 1-1 the game was in the balance. Birmingham were pushing for the winner after that. They did have a chance that just flashed wide of the post, but in the end that wasn't to be. So finishing as a 1-1 draw in the end, both sides had chances. And then we have Brentford beating Luton by 7-0. What a ridiculous game of football this one was. I think that the tempo of the game was set after 6 minutes when Luton made an error at the back which Brentford pounced on, and Mbemi put Brentford 1-0 in front. From that point onwards, they completely ran away with this game. Luton now having the worst defensive record in the Championship. They are the first side this season to concede 40 goals, and Brentford were just non-stop for this one. They were 5-0 up at half-time. Watkins, Jensen and De Silva with 2 more goals to put them 5-0 up, and then in the second half, penalties from Ben Rama and De Silva to complete his hat-trick made it 7-0 to Brentford. Brentford find themselves just 1 point off the playoffs now, and really could be a side who goes on, and you know, they definitely have a side who has grown into the season. Now we're really seeing what they are capable of. If anyone's capable of ripping apart a team in the Championship when you're not in form, Brentford are capable of doing that. As long as they don't get injuries to some of their key performers, then Brentford I think have got a fantastic chance of the top 6 this season. I still think it's really open with a couple of teams faltering at the moment. I like the fact that they were so ruthless and they were non-stop in this game. You know, some teams when they go 3-0 up are happy to sort of sit off the pace a little bit, but Brentford were just going for it. Luton completely fell apart in this game, and I mean, it was like year 11s versus year 7s. It was men against boys for this. Luton's form at the moment has become a bit of a worry. 1 win from their last 5 matches now. It's only due to the poor form of Wigan and Stoke lately that they've not been dragged back into that bottom 3, so a really worrying one after Luton from that one. I'm not sure how they and Jones respond from it. Another game with 5 goals in saw Bristol City smashing Huddersfield by 5-2. Now lately Bristol City have been one of the sides around the top 6 who have been faltering a little bit with some of their performances, but I mean, they put that to bed with this performance today. It was absolutely fantastic going forward. From minute 1 they took the lead after 11 minutes. Josh Brownhill going down as that goal scorer. Kongolo then with no goal after a brilliant ball was whipped in from Eliasson, made it 2-0. Colin Grant did pull a goal back for Huddersfield in the 35th minute. A really nice goal, did most of the work on his own there and just got the ball past Daniel Bentley, but just a minute later Eliasson made it 3 to Bristol City. Eliasson then turned provider for Ashley Williams to make it 4-1 before half time, and Eliasson for this game looked absolutely unplayable. He's only made 4 starts so far this season but already has 1 goal and 7 assists to his name. I really enjoy watching him. I think he can be the real difference for Bristol City with that real quality. They were causing Huddersfield all sorts of problems with those balls they were putting into the box. Weimann made it 5 after half time. He coolly rounded the goalkeeper and slotted away. Bakuna did pull a goal back, and it was a nice finish from outside the box into the bottom corner, but by that point the game had completely gone. So Bristol City much more like themselves for this one, look ruthless going forward. Huddersfield were completely opened up. I saw Danny Cowley's interview after the game. Obviously he wasn't a happy man, but it was quite refreshing to see that he wasn't sort of skirting any questions and he was straight to the point. I'm interested to see what decisions he makes in January, but for Bristol City, a massive 3 points. And then we had Derby drawing 1-1 with QPR. Obviously Derby lately has been a tough place to go to, so not the worst point on the road for QPR on this one. Neither side completely got going for this one. It was Derby who took the lead. A brilliant free kick from Martin Wycorn into the top corner. There was no stopping that one, but QPR got back into it just before half time. This time it was Martin Wycorn committing the foul. Eze stepped up to take the penalty and coolly slotted it away past Ben Hamer. Slowed down in the run up, but there's no rule against that. Obviously you're not allowed to stop when running up to a penalty, but you can slow down, and he coolly slotted that away to make it 1-1. In the second half then, both sides had half chances, but neither went on to do enough to go on and win the game. Derby did switch up their formation for this one. They were playing with 3 at the back, and it didn't really work with them going forward. Christian Bielik was injured in the warm-up for Derby, which hindered them for this one, I thought. But an interesting one on QPR. Currently they're not on a good run of form at all. Only Charlton and Wigan have picked up less points than QPR have in the last 5 Championship matches, and I have seen Mark Warburton becoming under a bit of pressure at QPR. I don't think that's right. I think that what Warburton's been able to do so far at QPR, you know, he spent no money in the summer. All the players that QPR brought in were either on free transfers or loan deals. It's a work in progress, and I back him as the man to turn it around for them. And then we saw Leeds taking down Middlesbrough by 4-0. A result which does see Leeds go to the top of the Championship. Obviously, we do have West Brom playing tonight, but for the time being, I'm sure that all the Leeds fans will be loving this. Now, we've spoken about it quite a bit on the channel so far. Leeds been putting in some good performances, but it always felt as if they're maybe playing with the handbrake on at times, and they're not quite taking apart teams like they are capable of. For this game, though, it was total domination. They were fantastic from minute one. Bamford put them ahead after just 3 minutes, and it's crazy to see what a goal can do for a striker like Bamford's confidence. But since that goal he scored against Blackburn, I think that Bamford's been excellent since then. Click made it 2-0 before half-time, and they continued that dominance into the second half. Helder Costa, another player who lately, I think confidence has been looking a lot higher. He was involved with the goal they scored against Reading in midweek, and he got his first goal in the second half, jinxing his way past a couple of Borough players and smashing it in. But the pick of the goals had to go for Click's second one, coming from a short corner. He just angles his body at the edge of the box. You can see he's lining up for the shot and just beautifully bends it into the top corner. Absolutely fantastic strike from Click. 4-0 to Leeds. They were worthy winners of this one. Middlesbrough were never really in it, and to be honest, Leeds could have had more than the 4 goals they got. Ruthless going forward. That's now 5 wins in a row for Leeds, who are on an absolute roll at the moment. And we saw Cardiff continue their impressive start under Neil Harris, beating Forest away from home by 1 goal to 0. Mendes Liang with the only goal of the game. Nicely taken from outside the box. I think Joe Worrell did get a touch in it, but nevertheless a nice finish from him. Forest, I think the stats tell you everything you need to know about this game, really. 32 shots, but only 2 on target. Forest could be still be playing now, and they still wouldn't have scored from this game. It just wasn't happening for them, but credit has to be given to Cardiff, who made it very difficult for Forest. They sat in well when they needed to, got blocks in there, and they were frustrating Forest. You know, it was just that final bit of quality that just wasn't there for the home side in this one. Beating the first man from crosses, balls falling into areas where players maybe could have done a little bit better, but they get a shot away and it wasn't on target. I wouldn't say that Forest have been the most free scoring side in the Championship lately. Obviously, they had that fantastic game in midweek when they put 4 past QPR, but that's been a bit of an outlier in terms of the rest of the results we've seen Forest picking up so far this season. They are currently the lowest scoring team in the top 6, which is an interesting one to take note of. That was probably highlighted in this game today, you know, up against a tough side like Cardiff, who were happy to sit in when they needed to. Forest just couldn't break that down. Cardiff did have other chances, in fairness to them. Hoylett had one which was cleared off the line, and Samba had to make a couple of other saves, but ultimately Cardiff did well on the road, so 3 points for them. Very good win. And then we saw Blackburn beating Stoke by 2 goals to 1. Stoke just seemed to be the masters of taking 1 step forward, then 2 steps back. It looked like after appointing O'Neill that they were on a bit of an upward trend. They won back-to-back games against Barnsley and then followed that up beating Wigan. In midweek, they weren't great at losing against Cardiff, and once again, defensive inabilities were just on full show for this one, really. Bradley Dack opening the scoring for Rovers after 13 minutes after Stoke failed to clear a corner. After that, Stoke had definitely got a goal threat going forward. You know, in the second half, they were putting a lot more people going forward, and Blackburn really had to do some last-ditch defending in this one. Walter made a couple of saves. They were getting blocks in there, but eventually it looked like Stoke did come up with an equaliser, which would go on to get them a point. I think in the end going down as Nevin's own goal. Christian Walton was sort of lost in the crowd for this one. He possibly could have done a little bit better with it, but Stoke did level it up, but that only lasted for 4 minutes as Blackburn once again just found it too easy to get in behind Stoke, really. A nice ball through from Bradley Dack into Elliot Bennett. He got the ball into Sam Gallagher, and he tucked away to make it 2-1 to Blackburn. So Stoke still find themselves in the bottom 3. It's not a great position for them to be in at the moment, and just looking at the dressing room that they've got in there, I think there's just so much toxicity. From the outside looking in, it just looks like a lot of players are there that just don't really care. Then to round things off, we had Reading beating Wigan by 3 goals to 1, a result which does cement Wigan in that bottom 3 for the time being. Now, for the first half, Reading weren't really at it. I was interested to see how they play for this one, given the fact that they were without Ajaria, Swift and Baldock, 3 really standout players for them lately, and it was Wigan who took the lead. Nice to see Joey Garner back on the score sheet again, and Reading weren't really offering anything for that first half. But for 5 minutes in the second half, Reading completely turned it on. Puskas with a hat-trick in 5 minutes, scoring his first goal in the 79th minute and his third in the 84th minute. It was a blistering turnaround from Reading. They were awarded the penalty in the 79th minute for handball. Puskas took that away and then just moments later slotted in the second. For me, that was the best goal of the game. Brilliantly worked from Reading in the build-up to it. Puskas brilliantly turned past Mulgrew, got the ball out of his feet and then slotted it home coolly into the bottom corner. And then the last goal, really good work from McCleary to chase down a dead ball, got the ball back to Puskas, and he comfortably took that away as well. So So we spoke about Puskas quite a bit on the channel so far, being wasteful with a lot of the chances that he's been presented with, but getting a hat-trick away from home, that's got to be a massive confidence booster for him. So I'm really interested to see how he plays in the next few weeks now. There's still potential for him to be fantastic. He just needs that consistency in front of goal, but he was fantastic in this game to turn that around. And then on the flip side of that, you've got Wigan, who do find themselves in a really troubling position at the moment. The atmosphere around the club doesn't seem great at the moment. Last season it was their home form which really propped them up the league table, but now they've lost their last 3 home games. That's not there to save them anymore. But guys, they were all the games that did go on this weekend, so let me know in the comments down below what you made of your team's performance. In terms of the result of the weekend, I mean, it's got to go to Brentford, hasn't it? For my goal of the weekend, quite a few contenders for this one. I think I'm going to give it to Click. It was a fantastic goal for Leeds to wrap that game up. Outside the box, brilliant finish from him. But apart from that, that will now wrap up for today's video, guys. So make sure you leave a like if you did go on to enjoy, and subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. Obviously, we do have the game going on tonight between my side, Preston, and West Brom. Preston at the moment, not on a great run of form since the international break, but our home record has been very good so far. If you watched my Championship predictions video, I have said that I think that West Brom may sneak this one, but who knows, Preston could turn it on. It should be a good game, and we'll be discussing that one in the next video. So like I said, apart from that, that will now wrap it up. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.